So, me and my fiancée Lily, who's 33 and I'm 34, have been together for a few years now. Lily loves to drink, she's at it every weekend. We went to my cousin's wedding recently, and even though I'm not much of a drinker, Lily talked me into having a few drinks at the reception. Instead of my usual joint, I ended up getting way more drunk than I ever have before. And guess what? I caught Lily and my other cousin Bob, who's 31, doing MJ together. Bob and I aren't close at all, he thinks. Man, she thinks I'm some weirdo who's always getting stoned, and I think is just a stuck-up bully. It really sucked seeing them together like that, felt like a total betrayal when Lily brushed it off as just having fun. We ended up hooking up after our argument, but the next morning she was gone. My heart dropped, but I didn't want to assume the worst. At the party, I heard some of Bob's buddies joking about him fooling around with his cousin's girl. I called them out on it. I asked which room they were in and made one of them come with me. We could hear noises of being intimate before we even got to the room. I told Bob's friend to knock and get Bob out without giving any explanation. After yelling and banging on the door, Bob finally opened it and saw me. He stepped back and I followed him into the room. There was Lily, my fiancée, in bed looking shocked and asking what was happening. Bob didn't say anything. I just stood there as Lily started freaking out. Man, she keeps saying it's not what it seems, but let me tell you, it was exactly what it looked like. I didn't say a word, just walked out. Lily won't leave me alone, calling, texting, even showing up at my place trying to explain herself. But I can't even deal with it, too hurt and numb. And Bobby? He's been quiet towards me, but turns out he's been bragging about the whole thing to our cousins. I only found out when an uncle called him out on it. I am absolutely grossed out by his behavior, and my other cousins haven't been there for me at all. They are just making fun of me, which makes me feel even more betrayed. I've decided to cut out all the negativity from my life for now. As for Lily, we still haven't talked. I'm not sure if I'm ready to hear her side of the story yet, but I know I'll need closure eventually to move on. Right now, I'm just focusing on myself. Trying to get back to normal and taking it day by day. Getting back into things I used to love and finding joy in the little moments again. I know healing won't be easy and there will be ups and downs, but I'm taking the first steps and that's what matters. Today, my cousin Maria called and apologized sincerely. It was surprising cause it was the first time she actually seemed sorry. She also told me some new info about another lie Bob's been spreading. Apparently, he's been telling people that Lily and I had an open relationship and have been close with other guys was part of our kinky preferences. According to him, my only problem was that he got involved. I can't say I'm surprised by Bob's behavior, but it's still sad to hear. However, it's a clear reminder of why I cut him off. I decided to cut ties with that side of the family since my last update. I've started going to therapy regularly, it's my saving grace and I'm optimistic it will help me figure out this chaotic situation I'm in. I still haven't talked to my other cousins, but I did have a chat with Clara, Lily's sister. She stopped by to pick up her stuff and dropped a bombshell on me. Apparently, Lily has a habit of cheating, especially with guys who are into shady stuff like dealing pills to pay off her debts. It's just disgusting. Man, finding out about this made me feel so damn sick that I actually ended up puking. Turns out a lot of you were right when you said that the cheating and drama wasn't a one-time thing. How the hell did I miss all the signs? I immediately called my doctor to get tested for STDs, and waiting for the results has been freaking stressful. These days have been some of the most anxious moments of my life. And just a few days later, Clara hits me with another bombshell: my ex-fiancée is pregnant, but not with my kid, but with Bob's. And she was actually planning on keeping it. Girl came to me, dumped her kid on me, and expects me to raise it like it's mine. Took a whole week, but eventually Lily showed up at my doorstep. She looked like she'd been through the ringer, with dark circles under her eyes and pale skin. Seeing her with some other guy's kid, oh god, it was rough. There was a time when I would have been ecstatic about us having a baby together, but now the idea disgusts me. She started talking, voice shaking, saying she needed to talk about the baby. I just told her to get out of my house, I ain't raising that kid. Bob's kid, she was staring at me like she couldn't believe it, her mouth opening and closing but no words coming out. How did you? I cut her off before she could finish. Just go, Lily. I saw her hurry off my porch, looking upset as she vanished into the night. The next few weeks were tough. I heard through the grapevine that Lily had tried to talk to Bob, but he wasn't interested at all. Bob was never one to commit and start a family. Their little fling meant nothing to him, just a quick thrill. He basically said he didn't want anything to do with Lily or the baby. It made me feel kinda good in a messed up way. Lily cheated on me and caused me a lot of pain, so now she's getting a taste of her own medicine. Now I'm just here, living a life I never saw coming, but I've learned to accept. It's not perfect, but it's mine. I'm finding happiness in the small things, learning new things about myself, and building a life that's all about me. It's a tough journey with its own share of setbacks and letdowns, but I'm making it work. The journey I had with Lily is a chapter of my life that's over. The betrayal, heartbreak, and drama are all in the past. I've come out of it stronger and wiser, and I'm grateful for that. It was a tough lesson to learn, but a lesson nonetheless. As for the future, who knows? I'm keeping my heart open and my spirit hopeful. One thing's for sure, I won't let anyone else control me. On another note, about 4 days ago, my wife confessed that she was having an affair with her therapist. In the past 7 months, there's actually more to the story behind all this that I wanted to spill, but if you'll wanna hear it, I could write up the full deets on a blog or something. About 3 months ago, she started pulling away from me and said I didn't deserve to be close to her anymore. She basically said I had to earn it back. This caused us to have zero intimacy in our relationship, and our sex life became non-existent. I tried talking to her and working through our problems, but I was left feeling emotionally neglected. Whenever I needed help with stuff around the house or just any effort she used to make for our relationship, it felt like a slap in the face. I was sure there was something more going on, but every time I tried to talk to her about it, she would brush off my worries, avoid my questions, and twist the truth. I kept asking her to be upfront and truthful with me so we could work things out together, but it seemed like I was just stressing her out. She never seemed to make time for me and always put other things ahead of our relationship. Her attitude towards me started to get worse and she became openly hostile. She then decided to go to a women's empowerment event that was only for ladies. I already had a feeling something fishy was going on, so she came up with a lame excuse that she knew I wouldn't question. I couldn't sleep, so I ended up snooping through her stuff. I checked her phone records, looked at her browsing history, and even used a background search service to figure out who certain phone numbers belonged to. I saw a sketchy number and decided to call it, and of course, it turned out to be her therapist. I did some digging and found out he lived in the same town where she booked the hotel. Then, on the second night of her trip, I checked her search history and compared it to our conversations. It was really disturbing. She was looking up stuff about marriages falling apart. All my suspicions were true, and it was even worse than I thought. When your therapist is all up in your business, trying to figure out how to gather evidence for a divorce and even how to hide assets during a divorce. She's also been creeping on him and his family, running background checks, researching how to catfish someone online, and even questioning if a therapist could get in trouble for getting too cozy with a client. The list of sketchy things she was looking up just kept growing, like she was Googling this dude nonstop. It's pretty obvious she's completely fixated on him and was stalking him right up until the day before she left on her trip 5 days ago. A while back, she was Googling how to not let one rip when getting intimate. It all clicked for me and I figured out what was going on. So, on Sunday morning, I shot her a text laying out everything I knew about the situation. I straight up called out the person she was messing around with and told her if she wanted to save our relationship, she needed to come clean. To my surprise, she showed up on Sunday, a day earlier than planned. She demanded to know where I got my info from, but I wouldn't spill the beans and stood my ground. I didn't want to give her the chance to twist, lie, or make excuses about any of the evidence. Eventually, she admitted to everything. She gave me all the details about how close they were. She said she wants to keep seeing the other person to see where it goes, but also wants to stay married to me because she loves me. I feel sick to my stomach. I'm shocked. But for some reason, I can't stop thinking about the idea of an open relationship. Maybe it could be thrilling. Please, someone, talk some sense into me and get me out of this stupid mindset. After spending hours listening to her go on, the more I think about it, the crazier and more ridiculous it all sounds. Turns out her therapist is the head honcho of a group of guys who have these secret manly empowerment gatherings in the woods. They are sworn to secrecy about what goes down there. Instead of going to a similar female gathering, my wife attends the graduation event for the dudes. During this ceremony, each guy gets up on stage and spills his guts about his feelings, and then their families join in. Members are getting up and sharing how their lives have gotten better since they joined this group. It's starting to seem kinda cult-like, honestly. There's even a little girl who went on stage and said her dad is different now and she likes him more. So here's the scoop: my wife unknowingly ends up sitting next to the big shot leader of the group. This leader dude leans over to the person in front of them and says, "If only there was a female version of this group." And you won't believe it, but my wife jumps in and goes, "Oh, there is." So, I totally ditched the session this week to be here with my side dude. And the leader dude was all like, "Oh, for real? Would you mind talking about it and sharing some info with everyone?" And just like that, they put her on stage to talk about this women's empowerment session that she's never even been to before. I might just be paranoid, but now I have this feeling in my gut that her therapist is recruiting vulnerable women for this organization and using them for his own benefit. I don't have concrete evidence of this, but honestly, I'm totally confused. On one hand, I'm really upset and disturbed by what my wife did. On the other hand, I think she was manipulated and influenced by her therapist. I could report him and get his license taken away, but here's the thing: my wife doesn't want me to do that. She says it would make her feel terrible to know she caused his life to fall apart. Instead, she wants us to have an open marriage and talks about hooking up with other people. Man, we were on a three-way exploring new and exciting ways to get close, and she really knew how to seduce me when she came back. Things were going pretty well in that department. But then, one night I just couldn't sleep at all. By morning, I was completely exhausted. I knew what needed to be done though. I wasted no time, started packing all of my wife's stuff into trash bags. Every little thing she left in our house, every reminder of her, all bagged up. I tossed those bags right onto the curb, and let me tell you, I felt so relieved. It was a weird feeling of freedom, like I was finally in charge of my own space and life. When my wife saw her stuff on the street, she freaked out. She started yelling at the top of her lungs, causing a scene for the whole neighborhood. But I didn't give a damn. As soon as she set foot on the street, I just slammed the door shut without even looking back. She knocked on the door for a solid 30 minutes, but I didn't budge. Eventually, she gave up and left. As soon as she was gone, I quickly changed the lock so she couldn't come back. Once I moved back into the house, my space was finally mine again, and I was determined to keep it that way. At the same time, I started to uncover her doctor's shady behavior. I knew she would be mad, but it had to be done. I gathered all the evidence of their secret relationship and filed a complaint against him with the licensing board. This guy wasn't just pushing professional boundaries, he was straight up breaking the law. And just a few days later, the guy my wife cheated with had his license revoked. Talk about karma. He messed up big time and it's now coming back to bite him. His career took a major hit and got completely ruined. He was so angry that he even threatened my wife, swearing to mess up her life and ruin her reputation. In the middle of all this drama, my wife was freaking out. She was scared of the mess she caused and of the therapist too. With tears in her eyes, she turned to me for help. She reminded me of a promise I made to protect my family, but I couldn't help but laugh in her face. I made it clear that I had no intention of keeping that promise. Saving her from the disaster she caused herself, I straight up told her she wasn't my family anymore after what she did. She was left to deal with the mess she created all on her own, and I have to admit, watching her struggle gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. It felt like karma watching her handle the same crap she put me through. The following weeks were insane, with her constantly calling me and begging for me to come back, pretending like everything was hunky-dory. But her voice, which used to soothe me, now just irritated me. I was over it. Dealing with her lies and manipulations, it's so liberating to finally cut ties with toxic people. In the midst of all the chaos, I found peace and a newfound self-respect. No more sleepless nights filled with nightmares and doubt, now replaced with a calm sense of contentment. She always put her own needs above our relationship and my feelings, but now she's getting a taste of her own medicine. I don't feel a shred of guilt or regret. I gave her a chance to come clean and fix things, but she chose not to. She decided to betray me and stab me in the back. Now she's on her own dealing with the chaos she caused. For the first time, I'm not there to protect her. She has to clean up her own mess now.